Thank you. I think it's time for the board to discuss among ourselves where we stand on this.
I just have a question for Sergeant Romeo, if he has it.
Yes, sure. Sergeant Romeo?
I know you're happy to hear from me again, Sergeant. Sergeant, has there been a review of that intersection concerning accidents over any length of period of time?
I can't speak personally. I know I haven't done what I would assume Officer Felton did, but I don't have that information. But it's readily available.
I think that's,
That was easy.
yeah, he handled that pretty well. Thanks. Knowing nothing. No, so sorry.
Okay. Did you? Okay with the board? Sure. You already made your statement.
Sandy Del Greco, 13 Shasta Drive. Coming here on March 30th on our first application for a full liquor license. Tony and I walked away with the concerns of the neighbors at heart and worked diligently to improve them all. Only to come to find out what I feel now is absolute that this is personal. I don't want alcohol, I don't want alcohol. You're not talking about an establishment that's going to be crazy with disco lights and stripper poles coming up through the floor. This is going to be a place where you might want to bring your wife and children. Dad or mom might want to have a glass of wine or beer, and you're going to go home afterwards. Nobody's going to be pulling out of there on two wheels. Nobody's going to be staggering out any of my doors. First of all, it wouldn't be allowed. I'm a much more responsible person than that, and so is my husband. We're going to be 43 years old tomorrow, and I think that this has become very personal, and I'm very offended by it. I'm tired of being scrutinized in the paper. I was very upset with you being scrutinized in the paper, and I don't think it's fair. This is America. We're living the dream, and I'll have you know that we have taken every bit of our children, our 4 children, that is, their college funds, and put it into 118 Park Street. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers how dilapidated 118 and 116 Park Street used to look, but let me say this and state it for the record. If my husband and I didn't care about the community and the people in the neighborhood, fabulous. That's not the case. We do care, hence the reason why we have spent every last dime on clearing up the outside, not just the restaurant, but Mr. Liakos' building too, as well. The outside is fabulous, the inside is fabulous, the food is great, the service is great. There should not be a complaint. Very rare do we get a complaint in that restaurant, very rare on the food. Everybody loves the atmosphere. As you can see, we've had supporters come with us the entire way. 25 of them into Boston. Not one opposer showed up that day, though. I don't understand it. So I would like to say that we are very, we're at the point where it is personal. It shouldn't be personal. It is a business, and that's all we're trying to do. I had mentioned in the first one, try and trust in us. When I say that, I say the only opposer that's ever been in that restaurant, as far as I recall, would be Jamie McInerney. Sharon Bear's never been in there, Pat O'Cap's never been in there, Sandy McInerney's never been in there, and they're the ringleaders. Why wouldn't you give somebody a chance? You are judging before you meet anybody. You're judging before you're allowing it to give anybody a chance. So to me, that's unfair. If you had come in and there was an incident or what have you, fine, then we would take care of it. I certainly, if there was a problem, I wouldn't turn away from my customer and say, oh, well, there's plenty of other restaurants, go somewhere else. And we're going to address any issues that arise. I don't anticipate any that would arise, especially from alcohol. We've been there almost 3 years. January 2nd will be our 3rd year anniversary, and we would like to continue staying there. For anybody to insinuate that we should take our business elsewhere, well, that's not going to happen, because what we had for finances is now at 118 Park Street, where we are going to stay. And that is all I have to say.
All right, amongst the board. No. No.
I think we've...
I think,
Sharon.
everybody's had a chance to talk this evening.
But she's now put something in here. There's nothing personal here. There's been no aspersions from these people whatsoever. And I want you to understand something, sir. We have nothing against them having a restaurant. And that is not our purpose here. Okay? Our purpose here is for what we...
You've expressed that purpose, okay?
But I also would like to say one thing, sir. Just one thing, and only responsibility to take on this endeavor. They are now placing that responsibility and liability on our town. And it wouldn't have taken nothing more than a prudent person, sir, to see the disadvantages and the pitfalls that that establishment faces.
That's enough. Okay. Board members,
Might I suggest that we close this portion of the public hearing? Rather than just rapping the gavel. Just-
Yeah.
Yeah, just declare it closed and
okay,
we can deliberate amongst ourselves.
okay. At this point, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed.
Well, I'll just start. I think, obviously, there's strong feelings on both sides. But in terms of our process now deliberating, I think I'm left with not having enough information to make an ultimate decision. We don't have, from the applicant, maybe some of their own doing, but also some information that just came to light this evening concerning the elimination of the parking spots out front, no parking engineering plan presented. I presume that till tonight they weren't aware that it was even requested. So it was only in the letter from Sergeant Romeo, it was dated November 9th, that I don't believe they have a copy of. I would like to see those two things. I would also like to see Officer Tilton's study regarding accidents at that intersection, and also I'd like to see whatever plan was reviewed by Officer Tilton, or I don't even have his report that Sergeant Romeo has concerning the plot plan or the ownership rights of that location that don't extend out onto that roadway. I think the record before us is incomplete, in fairness to both sides, to make an ultimate determination.
I think you're right with respect to the ownership of that land. If you look, if you go down the street now, the fog line is well beyond the curb, right? So I mean, you know, that's, the assumption has been that they had those parking spaces, at least 3 parking spaces out there. So I think we do need that information, and I think, as the attorney has suggested, that they would come up with a plan. Now, you know, I just want to make a point that the plan that was brought to the ABC meeting was more of a sketch. It was not a real plan.
Well, I'm understanding that the plan that you were requesting needs to be stamped by an engineer and some competent,
So the plan that was there was not dimensional.
No, I would go and generate a new plan.
Right, it would be better if it was stamped by an engineer.
Something
Yes.
that the building department would accept as adequate.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
That I think is a reasonable request, and I'm happy to comply with it.
Mr. Vino.
If I could just comment on, on this one issue, I don't really see this plan is holding up this hearing. What has happened tonight, we found out, is there's been 3 spaces eliminated. I don't need a plan to tell me that.
Well, what I would say, Mr. Vino, is I'd like to see whether or not, with the elimination of those parking spots, whether or not they still have sufficient parking spots in their parking locations.
I believe the attorney said that they do.
The only thing
I
that
don't-
it's going to do, Sean, is if they reduce the number of parking spots, will reduce the capacity of the restaurant. It's not gonna, doesn't put them out of business, it reduces the capacity, the seating capacity. So the question isn't necessarily, do they have the 3 spots or don't they, or do they have the angle parking or don't they, or it's a question of what would the legitimate capacity be based upon a legitimate parking plan? That's part of the issue, but it's, I'm sorry, Joe had the
But it
floor.
also-
I'll get to it later, but
If those parking spots in front are completely eliminated, it also reduces the safety issue on that intersection too, because now you have no vehicles parked in front of that location. I think that's something that weighs in favor of the applicant.
I'm sorry, Joe had the floor, I interrupted.
Joe, you were,
No, I want to hear from the rest of the board before I speak.
Steve?
Where to begin? Let's see. I hear the concerns of the neighborhood, and I hear the concerns in relation to alcohol, and I hear that, but that isn't necessarily what's weighing on my mind. It's more the safety issue in relation to that intersection and the entrance and egress into it. The time of day that's going to be involved here in relation to the establishment of what you're looking to do as far as expanding the hours and the visibility associated with that, which have been somewhat addressed by the police department report. One of the questions I have is, when you bought this establishment and decided to invest in it 3 years ago, was it your intention then to get a beer and wine license or an all-alcohol license when you first started the business?
Was it Walmart's intention to open up a...
I don't need a rhetorical question, I'm looking for an answer. In other words, what was your intention when you...
As your business grows, things happen when you're in business. As you're growing...
Was it I'm just, what were your intentions?
Not from the get-go, no.
Right.
Our
Actually,
intentions were to build the business.
I would think so.
Breakfast and lunch, and then take it.
And we did inquire about a bring your own on the onset, because we were trying to serve dinner. So we did inquire about that right at the onset.
So I'm looking for an answer to a simple question. And again, I've lived here virtually all of my life, and Mr. Holloway, I guess he left, where's he, PJ? Kind of funny when he talks about Bell Market, but I could talk about Abbott Shoe Factory that was across the street too. The fact is, there's been a lot of businesses come and go out of there, and it's never really worked in the evening. It's never really worked in the evening, and it hasn't worked there, and I believe for what Mrs. Reynolds has to say, who's been there 50 years, the location is tenuous at best. It's a dangerous location in relation to pulling in and out of there. Again, I become more cognizant of it. Again, been here 50-some odd years, so you tend to know how to deal with certain spots in town. But I've been more cognizant of it as a result of your applications. And just the last 2 Sundays, I'm going up, coming around the corner there and heading up. Well, I'm sorry. No, coming by, going through. And 2 Sundays ago, one of your patrons was out in the middle of the street, stopping traffic so someone could back out at 10 o'clock Sunday morning. Why would I say it? I'm not looking for trouble. I'm not looking to put you under... Again, I complimented you, and I'll compliment you again. You've done a wonderful job.
I saw that written in the newspaper, too.
What's that?
That exact statement.
Oh, I don't know.
Written in the newspaper.
I don't recall. I didn't read it. But I'm just telling you, I was stopped.
Just let you know.
I was stopped.
Okay.
One of your patrons stopped me so their friend or whoever it was could back out. And that's fine, You've got a lot of SUV, large vehicles parking, and at the time it's angled parking, hanging out into the way. But it's been that way for years. The establishment has been there for years. The establishments have been there for years, and we've tolerated it. But we've tolerated it because it's daylight hours. It's different when it's at night. It's different when you have people crossing 62. And again, I wish you nothing but success. And you've been more successful than anybody else that's been there for years. I was there when it was Richie's, it was there, So he's chuckling. But,
We're open for dinner now.
no, but I'm just saying, it's a different situation when the sun goes down. I have to look at it differently from a public safety standpoint. It's a different situation when you put alcohol into the mix, and again, that would help. I would assume, and you would think the same thing, that it's going to help with the success of your business. But at the same time, it's going to exacerbate the situation at a very bad location. And with the Route 62 project having been completed, coming out of Park Street, taking a left onto 62, that bridge should never have been put that way, the way that it is. The sight lines are gone. You do have to pull out into the intersection in order to look down westerly on Route 62. And it doesn't get any better when people are going to be parking across the street to come to your establishment. You don't have a lease agreement with parking spaces with Michael Hardery, and I've known Michael all my life. I doubt you're going to get a signed lease agreement from the guy. And again, not to say that he's going to not let you park there, but again, I've known Michael for a long time. You're not. I'm sorry, but yeah. Well, for now.